And I understand that you need about 16 gold medals for the gazillion speaking engagements you've done, starting in Cardiff. We saw you on the coverage with these lads right at the beginning where it all started.
Yeah, you're right. Look, I've had a fantastic time and started in Cardiff and got to MC that flag bearer announcement, which I must say has been one of the best events I've ever done, to be next to Icehouse and Ivor Davis and Paul G'day and to hear Only Men.
Thank you.
And of course, and Only Men Allowed. Weren't they amazing?
Were
Such
they?
a
Interesting.
Yeah.
The robot dance is something that'll has been the highlight of my Paralympic outing. Now, how many speaking engagements have you done?
I still haven't finished, so I'm actually, tonight obviously closing ceremony, and then tomorrow morning I even have to speak at the Paralympic Order presentation, which is the finale where Lord Sebco and Sir Philip Craven, Chris Holmes will all receive the highest order you can get as a non-athlete, so just to thank them for the sensational games that they've done. So it'll be great to be at that final one. When
you do speak, Katrina, you tell the audience that you're a Paralympic champion and that you've been subject to what's wrong with you or what have you got, and how do you explain that to the audience?
Yeah, well, look, we better do it because our viewers will be looking at me going, you know, she looks okay, what's wrong with her? And that's all good because I think that the Games, people have probably seen so many athletes that have gone, well, you know what, they just look like great athletes. I've actually got a mild case of cerebral palsy on my right side, which I was born with, but the interesting part about my story is I didn't know it was cerebral palsy until I was 18 years of age on an AIS netball scholarship, and that's where they discovered that that's what it was. And Chris Nunn, who was coaching athletes for the Atlanta Paralympic Games, got really excited to think, wow, how's this girl got in able-bodied sport this far? Imagine if we get her. So
you're already at the AIS before you discover.
Yeah, as a non-disabled athlete.
Netball, was it?
Netball.
Now, your parents did know something when you were 2 years old, but they didn't tell you. Is that right? Well,
it was picked up that I'd suffered some really mild brain damage somewhere during the pregnancy. Mum's pregnancy was healthy, couldn't think of anything went wrong. And cerebral palsy is, I think, just having a baby is a miracle. I've got two beautiful kids at home, and you just know when you're pregnant that it could be something like, even as a child, I could have done a somersault and the umbilical cord could have wrapped around my neck for just the smallest amount of time, causing a bit of not oxygen to get to the brain, and that's where you get the damage. So for me, my right side, the first thing they picked up was that I was limping on my right side. And the doctor did say that I'd suffered some very mild brain damage, but the term cerebral palsy was never used. I was born into a great sporting family, Rachel Spawn, you probably all know, was here commentating Olympics. That's my cousin. My dad was a really good footballer, and just probably luckily I had some great sporting talent that I could carry my disability off and hide it until I got to the point where they told me it was CP. So when I found out it was cerebral palsy, nothing changed, but I realised that there's incredible opportunity of the Paralympic Games.
Do you miss competing?
Do I miss competing?
When you're here and you see all the events and you're speaking, I know you don't have any time to miss anything, you're speaking all the time, but, you know, seeing the events and does that competitive spirit ever leave you?
No. Look, it doesn't. I don't want to be competing. I retired after 3 games and 3 gold, and I had a fabulous career. And for me now, I do a lot of speaking, and this movement is in my heart. And you can't apply to be an ambassador. I received an email one Saturday morning in April saying, would you come and be a Paralympic ambassador? And it's such an honour, and to represent not only the movement globally, but to represent Australia. I'm still competitive, so having 25 events, you know, over this period of time, that's my competition now. It was like, okay, you've got a script, you've got to MC this function. I interviewed 5 athletes at the Paralympic Ball a couple of nights back, and, you know, Prince Edward's sitting in the audience. I'm thinking, okay, this is my competition now. I've got to do a good job on stage. Yeah. I was fortunate enough to have Prince Albert of Monaco and Princess Charlene for the whole day about a week and a half ago. Just
they were going to come on the show, but unfortunately they couldn't make it.
Sorry, they were with me. They were having fun with me, and you know, that for me it's great to be off the track but still be a part of the movement. And for me, I hope I can do this till the day I die, and Prince Albert's on our honorary board. But just to talk to him, there's never been an athlete from Monaco, ever. So we were sitting there saying, well, what can he do as the ruler of his country and to actually get one athlete from Monaco at the next Games?
Adam and I also saw you speak at the classification lecture earlier in the Games, which was really informative for me, and I got a lot out of it. Classification is pretty much key to the Paralympic competition, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I've trained up as a classifier for the sport of athletics. And I think for me, as an observer of these games, is now that the general public have seen and been exposed, you know, over 3 million people and 80,000 people in that athletics track. I've been taking photos of the crowd, not of the sport, because I've been going, what? You know, these people are genuinely here to see us. And I think, though, you know, the IPC has got to a point now where just the general public, and you guys probably have an opinion of classification, where before for us...
Absolutely. I think for us the bilateral, unilateral argument is key.
Yes. And the problem is, though, that we need to get enough athletes to have pure classification. So hopefully, if you want to have 43s and 44s competing separately, you've got to have enough 43s and 44s globally. So as this sport develops, we're at this great point where it is, and a lot of conversation that I've had with Sir Philip and some of the VIPs within IPC have been, well, our next challenge is, there's been countries well represented, as you would have seen, from Australia, Great Britain, Germany, Ukraine, China, Brazil. You can just name them, but where are the athletes from India? Where are the athletes from the developing countries who will be extraordinary athletes? But we need to get those athletes in so we can build the classes, so we can have pure classes. And so we won't have this battle between point score systems or Oscar Pistorius beating, you know, just a one-leg amputee.
But there's also the finance discrepancy as well, and there have been some of those beautiful stories that come out of the Games. For example, the Burkina Faso athletes that arrived in the country to find that their government payment hadn't actually made it to the UK, and they had no accommodation and no equipment. And the volunteer, the 24-year-old British volunteer, put them up at his house and they found them equipment, and they're the stories that you sort of think, oh wow, that's so very beautiful. But the story of these games has been the athleticism and the elite competition that we've witnessed. So congratulations on your role in all of it, and thanks for finding 5 minutes in your schedule to come in and chat.
And we haven't even got titles. So.
Exactly. We feel very flattered, but Katrina Webb, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the opening ceremony, because I know that you will. Now, we are going to check back in with the marathon very shortly, but first of all, let's go to the third quarter of the rollers match. With 5 minutes and 32 seconds remaining, we go back to North Greenwich Arena and join Peter Walsh and Troy Sachs.
32 for the difference. Substitutions being made, and we see for Canada replacing Chad Yasmin will be, I reckon, that